hello everyone. Welcome to our drag queen makeup tutorial event hosted by JayJay Kings and the SSU engagement team.
I'm here to do this magic makeup tutorial. Yeah, we're just gonna do that. Pose to the side.
So I'm just going to start with a little introduction and introduce JayJay to the event. So hello everyone. Welcome to our drag queen makeup tutorial event hosted by JayJay Kings and the SSU engagement team. To kick things off, I'm just here to mention that I will be safe chat tonight for anyone that does want to come in and join us. So you can feel free to message me if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free. So now to introduce tonight's host. JayJay Kings is a self-taught makeup artist turned drag queen with international recognition for his avant-garde, artistic, and untraditional style. JayJay Kings realized at an early age the importance of his voice, sharing a message about diversity, equality, and acceptance as a foundation, and profits from his dragqueenmerch.com, benefiting LGBTQ2S+ initiatives. So thank you so much, JayJay, for being here tonight, and the floor is yours.
Amazing, thank you. So I'm here to do this magic makeup tutorial. I did want to do something a little bit more colorful tonight, not only because it's fun, but it's also because you can see the steps a little bit more clear when they're in different colors and shades. So I do have half my face done. It is pretty much fully done, as I would be like getting ready to put on my wig and go. So we are going to match my other side of my face to the side and show you the different steps. So the first step is obviously foundation. So foundation is like a blank canvas. So you just want to like make sure your paper is clear, your painting's all ready and primed and ready to go. So that's foundation. So I use a setting spray as a primer. This is the Max Fix Plus Magic Radiance primer. So just a spray, it gets everything kind of like moisturized and ready to go. And then what I do is I go in with a pore primer, and that's just to kind of eliminate any texture that I have. Yeah, and then I will go in with the foundation. So I have the not Max, it's Makeup Forever Flash Palette. And what I do is I just take the color that I'm using, which is this blue color, and I'm just gonna put that on the back of my hand. Let me just move this fluffy sleeve. So then I'm gonna take that on a brush. If you were using like a skin tone foundation, obviously, if you're doing drag and you have any like discoloration or facial hair, you can color correct it. When you're doing a colorful look like this, you don't really need to, because the colored foundation is a lot more thick. It's like a grease paint. So then I guess I should get a mirror. So then what I'm going to do is just start painting this all over my face. You can use a brush, you can use a makeup sponge. I will bounce back and forth between the two, but you're basically just trying to get a coat of makeup to cover any of the skin tone. And I should clip my hair back. I don't have a clip. Never mind. Oh, here it is. Okay, we're just gonna do that. It's not that exciting.
While you're blending in your foundation, also great color.
Thank you.
I have a quick question just to start everything off. With what most people see of drag makeup, it's very big. It's very it's meant for the back of the room. It's also very campy.
Exactly.
What are some tips for someone just getting into drag makeup and the drag world?
I think the biggest tip I have for anyone getting into drag, but also just makeup in general, is to have fun with it. I think that especially when you watch like Drag Race and all these different like makeup and drag reality shows, you see like a heightened version of everything, and it can be intimidating. But I would say just to make sure that you know that it's makeup and it's supposed to be fun, especially drag makeup. The whole point of it is to have fun with it. So realize makeup is erasable. You just take a makeup wipe, it's not permanent. So have fun with it. And I would say just watch YouTube. Like that's how I learned makeup. I never went to makeup school. I've never had any like professional training on makeup. It's all just been done through YouTube and friends and watching people, how they work, and then adjusting that into the features of your face.
And who are some of your like favorite YouTubers to watch and get inspiration from?
So obviously Nikki Tutorials is like a huge icon when it comes to like YouTube makeup. I think that was like a starting point for me. And then just watching like Drag Race does every episode, they have someone else do their makeup via YouTube if they've been eliminated. And I think just watching the way that different people paint and like what steps they do first. Violet Chachki is a Drag Race royalty who I really look up to. She was like the first one that was like really edgy in fashion, but also makeup. And she does a lot of really fun, different tricks with her makeup. So I would say someone like that is also a good person to watch. I just want to mention that now I'm going in with a white cream. It's a cream stick. And what I'm going to do is basically take this anywhere that I want to be a highlighted area. So for highlighting, for makeup in general, anything that is you want kind of in the forefront, you highlight, and then anything that you want kind of sunk in the way or eliminated, you use with a darker color. So that's the contour. So it's a good tip to adjust that based off of the makeup in the foundation base. So because I'm using a blue foundation, I want to do the highlights being a white because that will look more forefront. Okay, I just kind of take this under my cheek because I really do like having a big cheek when I'm in drag, well, in general, but in drag especially. And so highlighting under the eyes will help eliminate any dark circles or anything like that. And then it will also help bring forward the cheekbone. And then underneath is to really get that dimension with the contour as well. And then for this step, with this color foundation, I use a beauty blender or makeup sponge. And this is just to help blend them all together. I find creams are also a lot more thick, so you do need to really kind of work at blending them. But if you're
It's okay, got this. I'm gonna call JayJay and just see if he's okay. So cute.
Okay, so I don't remember where it was, but there we go. So we're just blending away the highlight into the foundation color. If you really wanted to do more blending and you had more time, you could always go in with a dark cream color as well. So I would do like a navy blue and use that along the cheek and the forehead just to kind of add more dimension with the creams because you're gonna have to powder it all and then do powder contour as well. Mm-hmm. So it does take a while. So now is the messy part. We are going to use a white powder. It's a loose powder. Again, if you were doing this with like skin tone foundation, you would just use a powder that matches your skin tone or the lighter shade of your face. So we are just going to go like this. And especially with cream colors, it's going to be a lot of powder. Especially if you're doing like stage, like drag a performance, you want to make sure your foundation lasts while you're on stage and while you're dancing and sweating. So the more powder, the better. And that's something I learned early on doing makeup is that powder equals length or longevity.
JayJay, we met at Fashion Arts Toronto. I'll never forget. Could you tell us like everything that you do in Toronto?
Yeah, of course. I mean, not so much anymore because of COVID. Sure. But I moved to Toronto and I was like really into fashion. I was doing more androgynous style makeup, so it was kind of still more boy leaning. And I really wanted to get into fashion. I had the dream of going to Fashion Week in Toronto back when it was Mercedes-Benz. And and so I saw the tents one day when I was visiting Toronto. I tell this story all the time. And I told my mom, I was like, I want to go there. I'm going to be there one day. And so when I moved to Toronto, I just looked at everything that I could do related to fashion. So one of the things that I was introduced early on to was Fashion Art Toronto. And it really, especially back then, promoted like diverse beauty and alternative models, where like modeling with tattoos was not a thing back then, and that's going to age me. But yeah, so I just really like fell in love with the idea that I could be a model, that anyone could be a model if they wanted to, and there was like a place for that representation. And so through that, I met a lot of the fashion people. Then I started going to Toronto Fashion Week, and through that, I was able to model with Toronto Fashion Week with Leslie Hampton. And yeah, now I've kind of shifted more into drag. So I'm doing a lot more drag and makeup related things. So I'm working with a lot of different makeup brands online. I just did something with Pride Toronto for Family Pride. So it was a drag, it was called JayJay King's Pride Palace. And it was a kids drag makeup tutorial. And I really wanted to focus more on inclusivity and acceptance and teaching kids to be bold and have fun and live authentically, because I think had I learned that at a younger age, I would have been doing even more and been more proud of myself as a younger kid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're like a staple of Fashion Arts Toronto now too. Every
Yeah.
we're meeting each other again at Fashion Arts Toronto.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, Fashion Arts Toronto, I think I wasn't modeling this year. I was going to, I had a couple of different designers that I was like, okay, I'm gonna like make time to do this as well as like everything else that I am doing. And it just didn't work out. But I was a part of the committee. So the planning committee, I was modeling. I had a lot of friends that were designing, so I would do work with them, and then also the promotion videos and photos and everything too. But again, it was like so cool to meet so many different people that were so open to different styles of like fashion and makeup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I recommend Fashion Arts Toronto to anybody. That was like the very
Yeah.
first fashion show I ever worked at too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, Toronto Fashion Week was fun at the beginning.
It's
It
different
kind
now.
of, yeah, it's changed now, and obviously with COVID, they're not even doing it. So I think if that becomes the new standard of what Toronto and Canadian fashion can be, which is so accepting and so diverse, then I'm so happy about that and so proud. So yeah, I'm going to mention that I am going to take I don't know, this is a really dirty makeup palette. This is the House Lab, so the Lady Gaga makeup palette, and it is a navy blue, so this color here. And what I'm gonna do is, now that everything's powdered, I'm gonna start contouring with powder as well. You can see that the powder does really like matte and lighten the shade of the cream foundation. So we wanna add the color back in. So I'm just gonna take this. Again, you would adjust it based on your face. And that's why I said, like, I just like practicing makeup at home. If I wasn't going out, I would sit at home and just do makeup on myself every night. And that's how I learned what worked for my face. And then now I'm able to translate that to others. But with contour, you really want to focus on the things that you want to, again, sunken in. So if you have a rounder face, traditionally people want to break that up, so they do the contour and they bring it in and around and in. And then if you have a longer face, you don't want too much contour because that's going to thin you out even more. So you would kind of just do it around the edges and it wouldn't be as harsh. So that's like a good little tip. But again, it's always best just to look at your face, see where you would want the shadows to land, and go from there.
I was going to ask you, how have you managed to cultivate an online presence during the pandemic, now that you can't go and do what you would normally be doing, right?
Exactly. So, okay, long story short, I was getting way more into performance drag just as the end of, I guess, 2018 and then throughout 2019. I actually was able to go to Vancouver in January of 2020 and do like a week worth of drag shows. So that was like, I was like, this is the beginning of the best like year. I'm gonna start doing performances. I'm gonna get my name out there as a performer and not just someone on social media, because I was doing, again, a lot more social media based drag. And so I was so excited. But then the pandemic happened and all my shows got canceled, and I got so nervous and so scared because I was so excited to finally show people what the JayJay performance side of it is. But then I realized that this just gave me a lot more time at home to work on my makeup, to look at what I was doing, to create art that I wanted to create, and then try to improve on that. So I just started posting. I think the first thing that I did online after the shutdown was happening was my Pride series. And again, Pride Month is amazing and it's the best time of the year in my opinion. But I really wanted to, again, with all the injustices going on in the world, I wanted to showcase what Pride means to me and how it's not just for LGBTQ youth and people. It's really about us as a community and other communities coming together and to promote the idea of like acceptance and equality and diversity and how powerful that can be when we do just come together. So through that, I just tag all the makeup brands. I do all of that, and I was able to work with different makeup brands during the pandemic. And it was actually one of the busiest times that I had online. I did breakfast television, I did Club Quarantine with Paper Magazine, and a whole bunch of different other makeup partnerships. And so I think it was really thanks to COVID and looking inward and finding what inspired me and what I wanted to say and putting that out there.
Right. It's crazy. COVID was almost like, it gave us like the self-reflection time that you didn't even know you needed, but in a
Exactly.
way. Yeah. And it benefited you. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think like, again, just like makeup, when I'm like spend some time doing it, like I also think, I mean, not every drag queen needs to have a message. Not every social media content creator needs to have a message. But I think when you have a message and it's one that's powerful and accepting and promoting diversity, I think it only makes the artwork that much better because there's something being said with it.
Right. And you also get a bigger response when you're putting out more relatable content and whatever you're
exactly
doing. Yeah.
And I think that that was like a huge shift that we saw during the pandemic too, is that people didn't want to see someone standing in front of a backdrop with like a white backdrop with like the lights and everything. They wanted to see like all done up. They want to see like the real you. How are you dealing with COVID? Like what are you doing during COVID, and how can that inspire but also impact others who to reflect and to find out what brings them happiness.
Yeah, and especially during this time, we learned that like we want to see people be real humans and be able to say like, especially express their mental health and be like, maybe I'm not okay as it is, but I want to get better. And especially like what you said, you took the time for reflection. So everyone within their own journeys can have that self-reflection and go the distance that they need to.
Exactly. It's just about looking inward. And fun story, I was someone that was always so scared to be like out in the wilderness, if you will. And I spent a full week, I think it was over a week, at my partner's family's cabin in Manitoulin Island. And there's this town called Tekama, and it's literally just a street light and that's it. And so I was around the least amount of people that I have been in years. And it scared me at first, but then I was so thankful that I was able to get away and just remind myself what was important, and that the people in my life were the most important thing, and that everything that I do online is an extension of that. So what would I do and say in front of the people that I love? So I encourage everyone to do that and think that way.
That's beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I am taking this just on my chin. Obviously, if you have more masculine face, you do want to kind of feminize it a little bit. And again, I'm using these like masculine and feminine as like what historically has been represented. But you would kind of want to chisel away at that and make it more curved, more rounded, more soft. So that's what I'm doing here. But again, you don't need to do this. Or again, if you had like a longer face, then you don't really need to do it. You're only going to continue to elongate it.
I have a quick question, just because I am not good at makeup. I'm gonna just be real straightforward. I'm not good at it. If you ever have like a powder, like a blush or a bronzer, and you go by mistake way too harsh with it, how can you fix that?
Oh my gosh, story of my life, especially at the beginning. Like, I do a lot of contour now, but like, imagine this times 20 and I wasn't wearing foundation. Like, I was like, okay, too much, too much, too much. Anyways, all you need to do is, well, if it was a cream contour or blush or whatever highlight, you would just take your beauty sponge and then just go over it. It would blend it out more. You could always take like your foundation color again and do that over top as well. And it will just kind of like blend it a little bit better. But if it's all done in powders, I think it's called veiling. And what you do is you take the powder that you would use under your eyes, and you would just take that on a sponge or on a brush and kind of go back over that, and that will diffuse it a lot. Again, you even saw that with the blue foundation and the white powder. It does diffuse it quite a lot, and actually more than you think it would.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for this part because I literally could just do this for hours. So then what I'm going to do is I decided that I wanted to add some color back into the face. Again, the blue with the white is kind of, it's colorful, but it's not as bright as I would like. Plus, I always think about, I've found my face in drag, so I think about like the steps that I would take with just normal skin tone, like adding blush after I added contour, and I adjust that to the colored foundation. So again, I did the contour, I did the highlight, now I would add a blush. So I'm going to go in with a pink, and let me just grab it, sorry. So all I'm going to do, this is just like, again, a very bright pink color. This is again where you could be a little bit more soft in approach, or like I said, if you do go overboard, just add some more of your neutral or skin tone powder. And blush is always kind of like the in-between color from the highlight, the foundation, the blush, and then the contour. So you're really using it to diffuse what you did with contour, but also just like a painting or a gradient, you want to make sure that there is the different levels there. And so I just go like this. It's again, for my face, I really like creating a circular cheek down here. That again will just help it look more sculpted. And it also, I think, connects the nose contour that I do. Nose contour is a whole nother story. It does take a long time to find the contour that works for your nose. Everyone's different. So like you really have to think about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and then adjust it to your face. So that's again why watching YouTubers and not just one specifically will help, because you'll get the idea of why they're doing it. I also just want to mention that I take this on my forehead as well, just like anytime I would do like a skin tone color. Again, I want to kind of make my forehead look smaller, and I want to blend the different shades. So I bring that around there. And then again, because it's drag, I want the highlight to continue there, and I want it to hollow in around the eye. So I do a little bit more on the crease there. And again, it's kind of giving you the curves and the dimension.
I really like the color blend of the blue and the pink. It looks really cool.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I think, like I said, like, of course, blue is fun and it's bright, but why not add some more color?
No, I love it. You look like a fun rainbow.
Exactly, exactly. The more colors, the better.
Exactly.
So that's pretty much it for the blush. And what I would do then, again, if I was spending the like 3.5, 4 hours that I do to do my makeup, if I'm not in a rush, I would go back in with the first couple colors. So like the blue, I could even deepen this with like purpley or a deeper pink. Actually, I'll just do it now because why not? Now that I'm talking about it, why not? So I'm just
Yeah.
taking this deeper pink. It's still bright, but we're gonna take that and that will just again be in between the bright pink, the blue, and then we'll do this here. Why not?
Yeah, you have all the time in the world.
There we go.
I was gonna ask if you could expand on the dragqueenmerch.com. I want to know more about it.
Of course. So, second, let me grab this shade. Okay, so I did all these drag queens on RuPaul's Drag Race were coming out with all this fun merch. And I said I wanted to do that. And I was like, well, if I did merch, I wouldn't want it to be just like a picture of me pasted on a shirt or just like a logo, like a really poorly done logo, like some of the queens. So I was like, what would I do? Again, I want to support and uplift the queer community. I want to support other artists. And I think that's, again, why I've been able to do so much is just by the support and acceptance from different communities. And so I said, I want to pair with different artists from around the world and just release stuff. And if no one buys it, then no one buys it, but at least I've done it. And so I reached out to a couple different queer artists that I know and have met through social media. And I just asked them to take my Instagram, look at it, and go from there and create anything based on any look that I did. And so I had, I think, I don't even remember now, but I think it was like 4 or 5 different artists do different interpretations of me, and I released it on Drag Queen merch. And again, it wasn't because I wanted to make money off of it, so I took all the profits that I make from it and I donated to the 519 here in Toronto. And again, anything that is something that I put out into the world, I want it to be beneficial in some way. And so I thought that something so like shallow as my own merch should also be offset by donating all of that money to a charity that does so much for the community. So it's still up, but I am thinking about, it was back when I was doing more boy drag, so kind of more artistic boy hair, that kind of look. And so I was thinking about bringing it back, but more JayJay King's This Day, feminine, and even crazier. So
That'd be awesome. You totally should. Why not?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'm just taking that darker blue again. I'm just blending that out a little bit more. I also want to mention, I always do my face like the steps out one at a time. So if you notice it is a little bit off, all you have to do, again, it's not anything to worry about, is go back into the other side and try to match it that way. And again, it's not to be so scared or nervous about. Yeah.
That's incredibly cool.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. If how do you demonstrate diversity, equity, and acceptance, and how can we as Sheridan students and the community beyond practice it in our own lives?
So I think, obviously being queer myself, that I practice it through, I think I really, again, I'm a very much of a storyteller. So long story short, I moved to Toronto and I met so many amazing queer people, and they were like my closest friends, and they brought me to the bars and the queer drag clubs and queer nights. And that's really how I was in touch with my community. And so I think just understanding what queer culture is and knowing that there's queer artists out there and that they can be successful and that you can kind of live your life authentically and still be successful. I think that inspired me. And I think that that is how I promote diversity and acceptance today, is by recognizing that there are queer artists, there's queer anything, name a job title, a queer person is doing it and has done it. And I think by recognizing that and utilizing those resources and hire a queer artist, hire a queer makeup artist, a queer hairstylist. I think by accepting and adding into the people that you work with a queer person, I think that that's the best way, because you're supporting a queer person. And as students, I think that that's how you should live your life, and you should move forward, not limiting yourself to a standard that doesn't really exist. And I think that that's, again, why I've been so successful in makeup, is because I'm not limiting myself to what someone thinks drag is, or what someone thinks makeup is, or what I can do as an artist online. I don't know if that made sense, sorry.
That made perfect sense. And you don't have to apologize. That was like so beautiful. Everything you say is just like so well thought through and put together. And I can tell between me and Gabby, we're very much relating to everything you're saying. So
Amazing.
yeah, it makes
Amazing. Okay, so I think that now that the base is done, so again, I call this my base. So it's the contour, foundation, highlight, powder, redo it with powder. I think I will go into my brows. Usually I would do my nose, but I did it ahead of time because trying to do this on a Zoom call would have taken a long time. So I think I'll do brows. And for brows, I've been having fun. A lot of people, especially me, when I started doing drag, I was so confused about eyebrows and like had the worst. I think that's a telltale sign of like a new drag queen or a new makeup artist, is their brows, because they're always so high up. And like, trust me, I had like a triple brow when I first did my drag looks. Like my brows became my crease and my eyebrow became my forehead, and it just was a mess. So what I recommend is, if you are doing drag for the first time, I suggest, and if you have nice brows, I suggest that you just block out half of the brow. So mine are actually shaven. So I shave this half of my eyebrow and then I keep this natural. What I do is I just, again, pluck underneath it, or you can go to someone and get them to do it. But as long as this part of your eyebrow is somewhat groomed, you're good to go. So you could use a glue stick to glue down your brows. You let it dry and then you powder it, and then you do more glue stick and then you powder it again. And again, that will take away this. Now what we're going to do is just take a brow pencil, and this is just an Urban Decay brow pencil. And so I've started doing kind of a more lifted brow or sculptural brow. A lot of times, if you look on my social media, I'll even take it up and out. And that's just, again, a way of me playing with makeup and adjusting what like a norm is for makeup. So even if I'm doing a super soft glam look, I'll still have fun with the brow. And it's, again, a way that I have learned how to do my brows. So I'm just going to take this brow pencil and literally, don't be nervous, don't be scared. It's just taking it and going with the flow. See, that was a little bit higher. I don't know if you can see, but it went a little higher than I should have. We can fix that after. It's totally fine. And again, I'm just taking little brush strokes and following my eyebrow. So again, the front of the brow, you're just coloring in. And then the back of the brow is where you're really kind of sculpting it.
I'm learning so much right now.
I was
Me
literally
too.
just about to say that. Oh my goodness, my makeup's gonna be popping after today.
So yeah, you just kind of go like this. Again, this is the part that like wouldn't be so good on a Zoom call. It does take focus, but again, it's realizing that we're also going to clean up underneath the brow. So if you do go too low on one or it doesn't look like the right shape, you can just use the highlight color, the white, or again, if you're using a skin tone, use your highlight shade and just kind of cover it up and go back in and do it again. So again, that's nowhere near even, but that's fine.
I just remember this little like quote from when I like 2014. Brows are supposed to be cousins, not twins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you were trying to make your perfect eyebrows match, like it's not going to happen. And again, I think that that's, especially when I started makeup, that was what held me back so much, was just realizing or thinking that if I made a mistake, it was over and I would just like take off my whole paint. But it's something that you can fix. And if you have two different eyebrows, who cares? Just pose to the side.
Choose the one you like better.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a double-sided brow pencil. So it has a marker on the other end. I'm going to tell you, I shaved my eyebrows for the longest time. And then again, I still wasn't getting the right eyebrow in drag. And so that's when I went back to just having the front of my brow. And I would never do brows when I shaved my eyebrows because again, I didn't have a guideline. But now that I do have a bit of a brow, I do boy brows a lot more often in my day-to-day life, and I don't do foundation, I just do brows. And this marker has literally changed my life. It makes it so easy to do like hair strokes and make it look realistic. You literally just flick it. I don't know, again, if you can see that, but you just flick it and it just creates hair and it's amazing. And again, no one's gonna be like magnifying glass into your face. So you do have some wiggle room with how perfect they are.
What's the brand or what's it called? Yeah.
So this is the Urban Decay Brow Blade, and they do have a whole bunch of different shades. So this one is, I don't know, I think Neutral Nana. It sounds like a weird name, but that's the name of it. And that's kind of like the mid. So there's like a lot deeper shades, and then they do have blondes, and then they have like a blonde red and a blonde taupe. So you do have the ability to kind of play with it.
I don't know if you can notice, I do have an affiliate code because I think both of us are just about to buy it.
Oh yeah, I don't have an affiliate code. That's another thing too, like when we were talking about like what I do and social media and stuff, I never liked the idea of like getting a code and like promoting that. I just think that for me, again, I want to be more authentic and real with who I partner with and doing it for the right reason. So I don't have any codes, but if you Google it, I'm sure there's someone's code. There's plenty of people, but thank you for asking.
No, I respect that. I really do respect that you don't have one because it shows that no matter what, it's for the love of the makeup rather than the love of
Exactly.
the money.
Exactly. So yeah, I just basically am just stroking on hairs there. Again, what I'll do is go in with a deeper shade. Again, makeup, especially trying to have more realistic drag makeup, you're just about tones and the low deep shades and the high light shades. And the more you have in between, the better and more realistic it looks. So now I'm gonna take a black liner. And again, this is something that I would always be like super hyper focused in the mirror doing. But we're just gonna take that on the outer side of the brow. I'm gonna do this for a second. Sorry. And then what I'm doing is just kind of filling in and doing a gradient from the first shade to the brow strokes to the black. And again, that's just going to give it more dimension. And then you can always do some more brush strokes or hair strokes with the black just to kind of even it out. Now what we're going to do is clean up the hot mess that we created, trying to match these two. I mean, it doesn't look too bad, right?
Say they look pretty even to me.
Good. See, Zoom, you got me. You got my back here.
There you go.
You know what it is? Not cousins, sisters today.
Exactly. So Where is, oh, it's right in front of me, sorry. So we're gonna go back in with the highlight shade, which is the white cream. And I just put it on the back of my hand. Your hands get very messy at the end of the day, but that is okay. And I'm just gonna take this on like a small flat brush. And then what we're gonna do is just take it underneath. I don't know if you can see this. So we're just gonna clean up the bottom. And again, you can kind of do the side-by-side comparison, see if they look similar. And then I do usually take, again, usually this is a concealer shade. So I usually do just take this on my lid and then use that as an eyeshadow base. And then I just use my finger, or you can use your beauty blender or a beauty sponge and just blend that out. So that will kind of start the eye. And again, because I did it too high up here, I'm just gonna do this. So now, again, the height is a little bit more even. And then what you can do is just powder that and just use the blush shade again to blend that out, and you won't even notice the white. Cool. So now we're just gonna powder that with the white powder that we're using, the loose powder, and then we'll be good to start the eye.
Gabby, I see you writing down your tips.
It's gonna be a full notebook by the time I'm done.
Oh, same.
Amazing. I love that.
I love it. It's like a one-on-one session.
So now I'm taking a white shadow. So again, I said to take the powder that we used at the beginning. When I'm saying that, I mentioned it more for the top of the eyebrow because you kind of want that to match the skin. But for under the eyebrow, I do take a white shadow. So the white shadow is just going to be more pigmented. And that way, it just gets you like more coverage and it makes it brighter. So I'm just taking a small eyeshadow brush and doing that. And there you go. So that's just gonna brighten it up. And you notice how much now, even compared to this eye with all the darker shades on it, how big that looks. So now we're gonna get into the eyes. I tried to keep it more simple just because, again, time, and we do have a lot going on. So what we're actually gonna do is, if you're, again, doing a bright eyeshadow and you don't have colorful foundation on, you kind of want to put a barrier of powder, and that's going to catch any fallout from the shadows. So again, if you're using a color and you have your skin tone foundation on and you get some fallout and then you wipe it off, it's going to streak it. So having that layer of protection is always amazing. And you can also use a brush with powder on it to flick that away. Never like use your hand. You kind of want the least amount of pressure to wipe that off. I'll probably do it, so I'll show you when I do it. So now I'm going to take the bright pink shade that I use for blush. And again, we're just going to be messy with this and have fun. It's not something that you have to be too nervous with, again, especially with colored foundation. And we're just gonna start taking this on the lid. Something to mention when you're doing eyes, it takes a while to learn the shape of your eye. So I have really hooded eyes. So when I look straight and have my eye open, you can't see any of my lid. So that's why we do lift the brow. And when I'm painting, I'll paint on a higher crease than what I have. And so basically the crease that you see is just going to be like all of my eyelid and above it. So again, I recommend like kind of, if you are having trouble figuring out the eye shape to do, just Googling different eye shapes, look in the mirror, analyze your face, and then go from there. So again, all of this is going to be my new crease. Another thing to mention, because I do have a higher brow I always like bringing the shadow up and out with that. Again, it's to lift it and make it more feminine. Again, if your brow isn't as high, you don't have to angle it up as high. You can kind of keep it more out than up. And then I just take this lighter shade and bring it out, and I'm blending it into the white there. So we're gonna start getting that gradient.
Oh, it's looking real good right now.
Thank you. I always do, again, I talked about my nose contour. It is kind of more specific to my face, but I like now, something that I've done over quarantine is contouring my nose into my eyebrow and eye. And I find that you just get a better blend of colors. So again, the shade on my nose isn't this bright pink shade, but it's similar enough that it will blend it all together. And then I'm also carving away at this part of my nose bone, or I guess my nose bone. And that will just, again, kind of make that nose look smaller and more sunken in. Again, this is something you can spend as much time doing as you want blending. I recommend having some good eyeshadow brushes. So again, Morphe is a good store to get makeup brushes from. They're fairly inexpensive and for the quality, and some of them are synthetic, some of them are natural. So the natural hair just helps with blending eyeshadow a lot better. So again, for a makeup brush for $5, it's not that bad, and the quality is fairly good.
I was literally going to ask you what company you suggested for makeup brushes, so thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was helpful.
that was the biggest struggle as well with makeup when I started, was like the products that you use. So I learned makeup through drag queens, so it's only like full circle now, but I was using a lot of like cream-based makeup, again, something that would be more this. So it is a lot different and it's harder to work with, I find, because the consistency is so thick. It's not as blendable. It's not kind of like a more average foundation consistency. So I found that it was hard to find the brushes, knowing what a synthetic brush does and what a natural hair brush does, what product to use that with. I found that that helped a lot, was like trying different products or researching the brushes that you used and what they were supposed to do. It definitely did help, and it makes it easier now. But yeah, Morphe all the way.
Just another question that just popped into my mind. Do you have, is there any like local drag queens that you kind of saw as like a mentor figure to you?
So this is gonna sound bad. I went out a lot when I was younger. So I started actually promoting for like queer nightlife. So I met a lot of the different queens, and I think, again, that's what has helped me kind of see what works for my face. And again, the more kind of people you can look at and see what they do and how they do it, the better you're going to be at adjusting that to your face. I think that someone that is a close friend that does drag, and we kind of started again at the same time going out to clubs dressed up, is Naomi Leon. Naomi Leon. She changed her name. I think it's Naomi Leon now. But she is someone that has supported me so much, not only at the beginning when we would just get up and drag and look a mess and go out, but also by booking me on my first shows at a club. Again, I did more online drag. So I was like, I really want to get out there. And she would always be the first person to book me and encourage me to go out and do it and have fun. I'm a little bit more reserved as a boy. And when I get into drag, obviously that comes out more. But even with my voice, very monotone. And she was like, get out there. She's a dancer and she's a performer. And so she's definitely someone that I see as a mentor. Savannah Cox has always been so supportive with me as well. And again, getting me into Woody's and performing there, and kind of encouraging me to not be so scared has definitely helped. And then I have friends that aren't really drag queens that have helped me. I have someone named Brian Turner, and he was like a hairstylist, makeup artist, and he, again, I met him at a club, and he was wearing a beret and makeup and a wing liner and had a clutch. And I was new to Toronto, and I just was like, okay, you're someone that's like so different from me, but like so fabulous, and I want to be exactly like you. And so he was actually the first person I did makeup on. And again, it was a lot of contour. I named him Alicia, and it was so bad, but he has been so supportive. And again, someone just to be like, just do it and don't worry so much about it. So I'm just going to mention, I'm going in again with a darker pink now, and same brush. Again, if you want to switch brushes, you can totally do that. I would really not, like, you can do that if you have like a black and you have a color and you don't want to blend them and make it get muddy fast. But if you're just using like a slightly different shade and you don't have a lot of makeup brushes, you don't need to worry about switching back and forth. I would just recommend using the same one, but I also don't like washing makeup brushes, so that might be it too. So for this, we're just gonna take it, and it's gonna be more towards the inner part of the eyelid. And so this is again gonna sink in that eyelid. And then when we do the crease, the cut crease, it's going to help make that stand out more. So we're just taking that literally in the crease of my eyelid. And then again, for this darker shade, I do want to bring this up and out. And because you can still see this bone right now, what I want to do is add the darker shade here to really take away or cut away that bone, the brow bone, my natural brow bone, and extend it and elongate it. So that's where I'm going to start placing the darker shades on the outer side of the eye. I don't want to go out as far with these shades. And then I'm going to take one more shade deeper, this red, and just put that in there. Again, you don't have to worry about the lid because we're going to use a cream. The cream, I guess, eyeshadow base, and we're going to carve away at that crease. And then again, just a little bit there. Like that. So then you can always go underneath the eye, which I will do with a smaller brush, but again, I'll wipe away the powder that I have underneath my eye first and then go back in and detail that. And you can always go back and forth between the colors to blend it even more.
You always hear like makeup is art, and this is just affirming that statement.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is my art form, and that's what I've like grown to love about drag, right? Like I was doing androgynous makeup and kind of more artistic, like geometric shape makeup. And I just wanted to push that even further and go with how can I make drag more me? And so just having fun with it. But again, like thinking about it as a piece of artwork, how would you want to, again, I say the lips are like signing your piece of artwork, and like the blush is like outlining and contour is outlining. So thinking about it as artwork, and again, the message of that is something that I do think about often and want to promote with people doing makeup. It's an art form. So I'm going in, sorry to mention, just another deeper shade. And this is literally like a burgundy, purpley. And that is as deep as I'm gonna go with this look. Usually I would do like a black after when I do the black liner. But for this, again, I wanted to kind of be more colorful, so I'm not even gonna go in with a black shadow today. And that's that. So I'm gonna take the powder on the brush, the fluffy brush, and this is the same brush that I used for contour. And I'm just gonna flick away any of that fallout and prep that area to do the under eye. And again, for the under eye, I'm gonna just take a smaller brush, again by Morphe. And I want to blend out this corner underneath the eye so that again, we can really make the eye look shifted and tilted up and out. Like that. Again, you can go in with the deeper shade. For this, you would take it more towards like the corner and then higher up, closer to the eye, because when we do the black, we want it to blend down. So like that. And that is pretty much it for the shadows on the eyes. Again, we can go back in and blend out if we wanted to. We can go crazy and have fun with that. But we're gonna move on to the lid. Let me just quickly do this. And this. Okay. I'm always so messy with my makeup. And I'm like looking for a makeup brush for hours. And then it's like, oh, it was right in front of me the whole time. And that is why it takes me forever to get ready. So now we're gonna go in and cut the crease. So this is the P. Louise eye base. So this is again, the eyeshadow base. It is a skin tone color. So again, it's kind of like the lightest shade that I would normally use with my like skin tone foundation. So this would be like a highlight shade. And I'm just gonna take it again on a flat brush. This is the same brush that I did for under my eyebrow. Again, cream product, you wanna have more of a synthetic brush because like a hair will show the different bristles. Synthetic, it kind of clumps more together and is a smoother look. So for this, again, you would tailor it to the eye that you're doing or the eye shape that you're trying to achieve. So for me, this is actually a trick that Violet Chachki said. And this actually was so useful starting out. You add, to find where your crease is, you put the product on the lash line. So as close as possible to a lash line, look up, look around, look crazy. And then you can see where that cream touched at the top of your lid. So I know anything from basically here down, you won't see when my eyelid's open. So it's going to save you a lot of heartache. Like when you do a masterful, colorful eyelid and then you open your eye and you can't see any of it. So that will save you a lot of time and it will just give you more of a guideline to work. So with that, I'm now just gonna know that I have to start higher than that.
My mind is blown.
I can see your whole life changing over there.
Literally, that was me watching Violet Chachki being like, this would have saved me so much time. And like, this is the reason why you can't see any of the makeup that I do on my eyelid. So now, yeah, it literally is life-changing. Also, if you're doing like liner, that's a good way to know, like if you do it closer to the corner of your eye, you get a sense of how big the liner has to be for you to actually see it or not. Because again, my hooded eyes, if I do a liner like straight across, it's going to go in and out just because the sunken shape of my eye. So it's another little tip too. And then because there is like a colorful eyeshadow on already, you are going to kind of stamp it on. You'll find that it's more opaque if you're stamping the base on rather than brushing it on. This is another part that is so stressful to do when you're even in front of the mirror. But again, it's something that you can easily go over with eyeshadow. And then, because we did kind of the higher brow and the kind of more winged out eye shadow, we are going to take the crease up and out a little bit more. I don't know if you can see it on this one, but it's basically going to go up more rather than down, like a curve. And then again, you can kind of see it more now that the eye is open. Okay, so now we are going to go in with the lid color. For this, I just did a pink and then a shimmer shade, like a white shimmer. You can do glitter. I actually find if you're someone that's starting out with makeup and you need some easy steps, I think instead of cutting the crease and then doing shadow on it, you can cut the crease with an eyelash glue or a glitter glue and put the glitter on, and you've like instantly created a crease. And because of the glitter, it stands out and kind of eliminates any imperfections. So I think that's another tip that I realized recently, and I was like, oh my god, this is like so easy to do. It takes like no time. You're literally just adding on the eyelash glue on the lid, quickly adding the glitter, and you're good to go. So for this, again, we're just taking this. Another thing that I'll say is stamping on eyeshadow is helpful. So especially with a primer or an eyeshadow base, you want to stamp it on to set the pigment and then blend it out after, because you'll just smudge the color and the pigmentation of it isn't going to be as bright.
Is there any like loose powder glitters that you prefer? Like any brands that are like stepping up the game?
I mean, I am very honest. I don't use glitter often. So when I do, I did get this. Okay, this is kind of bougie of me, but I got this Pat McGrath. It was a lip kit like years ago, and Pat McGrath is like a runway fashion model makeup artist. So she does a lot of like the runways for Paris Fashion Week and everything, anyways, and celebrities. And so she released this lip kit, and it was like 3 different nude shades of lipstick, and then they all had like a glitter attached to them, and then a pigment that you mixed with gloss, and it became like a gold, almost like real gold metallic lip. I've used that on my eye before, but anyways, so she has the glitters that came with it, and I just don't mix it with the gloss, and I take that and add it on because it is so expensive and so like high quality. They're so thin and so small that like you can't see any texture. If you're using like a larger glitter, you are going to see more of the chunkiness of it, and it does, I find, fall off more often than not. So I would say if you're like gonna splurge, go for like a Pat McGrath glitter. I mean, MAC is a staple for basically all makeup, and so MAC Makeup is another good person or company to use for glitter. Again, if you're starting out and you don't have a lot of money, then you can always do like a NYX Cosmetics or even a craft glitter. They just don't recommend that around your eyes, but most glitters aren't eye safe anyway, so you pick and choose your battles. So I am gonna keep a little bit of a space between the pink that I'm doing and the top of the base that I did, so the cutting of the crease. And that's because I'm going to use a shimmery white shade to kind of open that up again. Obviously, if you're doing makeup, anything that's brighter or has more contrast, you're gonna notice it more. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me get my brush. So for this, I take I don't have many hands, but I take the glitter powder and I take the I keep on saying MAC Fix Plus, and we're just gonna spray that, and that will get the pigment wet. People do it differently. Again, this is one of the things that I've watched so many different YouTubers do, and I found this way worked best for me, is a lot of them spray the brush first, then go into the color, and then go into their eye. But to me, the liquid or the mist is kind of adhering the pigment to the brush rather than adhering it to your eye. So I always like wetting the pigment from the outside to get a more bright payoff. So I'm gonna take that and just kind of follow. I don't know if you can see how bright that is, but I'm just gonna take that and follow the shape that I created with the eyeshadow base. And then I always blend it from the corner being the widest, and then the more precise line towards the outer corner of the crease. And that's it. It's pretty simple. I think, again, this is something that will really make a difference in the eye shape that you create, especially if you're adjusting the shape of your eye, because it's really, again, emphasizing a portion of the eye rather than kind of having it more subtle. And then what I'll do is I'll just take the brush that I used earlier, kind of blend that out a little bit. Or again, you can stamp that on like that. And then what we're gonna do is we are going to take those deeper shades that we used earlier on this part of the eye and just kind of go back in and blend out where that bright pink started and where the eyeshadow from the beginning ended. And then we're just gonna do that to blend it out a little bit. Okay. So now that that is done, that's pretty much all I do for an eye. Again, whether it's a different color or it's more subtle or it's every different color, like that's the general idea of like the eyes shape that I do. Again, you can have more fun if you wanted to do a halo eye. You would have the darker shades on the outside and the lightest shade in the middle. But again, that's something you can play with. Makeup is like a free art form. So just like play around with it, see what you like best. Again, have fun with it. What I would do now is use the same black liner, which I'm not even going to attempt on a Zoom call, but you would take the same black liquid liner. So it's a matte black. I always like the ones with the bristles. I forget, I don't think it's a felt tip, but it's a brush tip, I don't know. But those ones I always find get more thin of a stroke. So you can kind of like flick it and you get more precision. And I would just take that, again, you can't really see because of these lashes, but I would take it on the eyelid, bring it up, and then I would stop it just before we hit the mid-tone of the eyeshadow. And that's so that, again, the black is blending to the mid and deep tones, and then you have the mid blending to the light tones, which then blends into the light. I also have been playing around with the shape of the under eye. Again, because I have, my nose is so, I want to say big, but it stands out. So I like cutting into it with the liner so that it kind of gives the impression, again, with all the contour that we do, we want that to feel smaller or closer to the eye. So doing a more pointed eye liner you're gonna get rid of that like empty space there. So that's what I'll do. And then I do it underneath the eye. Then my least favorite part is lashes, because this is where all the hard work goes to crap. Sorry for saying that, but my eyes water so easily, especially with like colored contacts. And I always wear a contact because I'm blind and I can't see. And so I put in my contacts, I'm good up until this point, and then my eyes just start watering, especially when I do the liner. And it just changes the liner shape completely. Or if it's not waterproof, it just comes off, and you basically have to wait for that to dry before you can go back in with a powder or anything, because it will just start lifting it more and more. So again, if you get to this point and your eye starts watering, don't be upset. Just like hold tight, wait until it stops watering or the water is dry a little. I find even like trying to dry it with a Kleenex or a tissue just makes it worse. So just kind of like let it be for a minute and then go back into it. But you would kind of curl your lashes up with just a general eyelash curler. That again is going to give the false lash that we're putting on something to kind of stand it up and blend it together. And then what I do is I just go in with, I'll show you my lashes. This is a massive lash. Again, drag lashes are way bigger than anyone really needs. So there is the lash that I go in with. I go in with a black lash glue, and it's a lash glue that is on a brush. I find applying it this way gives you more precision with the actual lash, but I also find that this glue dries faster and it's almost more like tacky. A lot of queens would use like a wheat bond or whatever, which again is totally not eye safe, so don't do that. But it is more tacky like that. So I find that you have more precision when putting it on. And when you get it in the right spot on the first try, which rarely happens, it will stay there instead of like the like normal duo lash glue. It kind of shifts more. So like if you put it on and it's in the right spot, it will actually stay there, but you still have some wiggle room. Again, for lashes, especially with drag makeup, that black liner, the reason why we kind of do that is to blend the lashes into the eye look, but it's also kind of a guideline for where to place the lash. Again, lashes are so tricky, depending on the lash, depending on your eye shape, depending on the shape that you created with the eye, it really will vary. But by doing the liner, the black liner first, you're kind of giving it a guideline to see where to place the lash. And I, especially for drag, don't put the lash on the actual lash line. I kind of hug the lash line with the tip of the, or the front end of the lash. And then I kind of keep the end of, or the back portion of the lash pointed up. And that will again follow the liner that we did, but it'll also lift the lash and make the eye appear more open. Again, I can't do that on a Zoom call, so I will do that after and I'll post it on my Instagram. And then what I recommend is just going back in with the black liner and drawing in between where the lash line stops and where your eyelash, the false lash starts. And that again will just give a deeper, kind of more solid look, and it will make it more attached, I guess is the word. Then, sorry, I feel like I'm just spouting out a lot of makeup right now, but then I would just go in with a mascara. I also hate mascara. It's something about the final touches. I guess it's not like, I think the fun part is like the beginning half of the makeup, and then like mascara and lashes are like, okay, I just want to be done and look pretty, but it makes a huge difference. So I use just a black mascara. This is a Milk Makeup mascara. This is a sample. Again, I hate buying mascara. So Sephora does like the trials whenever you buy makeup. Just get a mascara because it will last you the amount of time that it's actually going to stay good for, and then you're good to go. I find that they dry out so fast that like if I'm buying a regular size mascara, it is never like finished before it dries out. So that's another tip, and it's also free. So yeah, this is a Milk Makeup mascara. I find the ones that have like a pointier end, ooh, there's a fur. The pointier end there helps do the bottom lashes. Again, that was a struggle starting in makeup. I always like go like this or like that when I'm doing makeup, but that like makes the bottom lash touch the top of my cheek. So by actually just keeping it like head down, straight gaze, you can also, I've used paper towel and just put it underneath the lash that I'm doing and do that, and then you don't even have to worry about it. But then you would take this and blend that into the false lashes. And that's just gonna, again, connect the lash line to the lashes, to the liner, and you won't have to worry about the eye looking wonky. Yeah, so that is pretty much it for the eye. I would then go in with a highlighter, and I usually use the Fenty Beauty highlighter. To be honest, I've only used a Fenty Beauty highlighter for like since it came out. And yeah, the iconic. They are so pretty because they're highlighter, so they're a metallic shift, like a highlight, but they also have some really pretty glitter in it. So if the sun isn't hitting you or like the lights aren't hitting you, so you don't have that like white, I guess, bounce back or whatever, you do see some of the colored glitter. So for this, I would go in with a green or a blue or a white, like a cool tone foundation or highlight. If I was doing something with a warm skin tone or a warm foundation, I would go in with more of a pink. So I have two that I use often. It is Chills by Fenty Beauty. It's spelled with a Z. And it's like a blue-white highlighter. So again, it's similar to the highlight that I did on the eye, and then I would do that highlight underneath the brow bone. And I would take that one kind of at the midpoint of my cheek. So I want the highlighter to be here, so that's the final step in creating those curves or those contours, is by having the highlight hit there, it's gonna really look like that is the most forward point of your face. Sometimes, most times, I do both colors, and the second color is called What a Brat, so it's a more pink highlighter, and I would do that to blend out that green, because again, if you're especially using skin tone or like a warmer foundation, it's going to look really cool, cool tone or green. So by blending that out with a pink highlighter or even a blush, you're going to kind of tone that down and make it more realistic. Yeah. What else? I think the last step is just lips. I would just go in. I've been playing around with my lip shape. So obviously with drag, you want to overdraw them. I like rounding out the top of my lip instead of having a more squared or pointed Cupid's bow. So I like rounding that out. I definitely overdraw the corner. You can see like this is where my lip stops, and I definitely overdraw that a lot. My bottom lip is fairly large, so I don't overdraw it that much. The only place I overdraw it is in the corner, because we want to make sure we're connecting the top and the bottom. And then I would just do the whole lip in one shade. But what I've been doing now is doing a deeper color in the center of the lip and then the corners. And so especially with drag, when you can kind of have more fun with that, you again are basically doing what we did with the cheeks and the foundation with the contour. You're doing that to the lip, and that's going to again kind of add more dimension to the lips. I think that's pretty much it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I know I definitely learned a lot of different makeup tips, and I know Gabby did too. I saw her writing down a whole book over there. So thank you so much for just coming and even spending the time with just us, and letting us into your world a little bit more and giving us tips. I don't know if Gabby has anything to say on behalf as well.
Yeah, I honestly, on behalf of the SSU, thank you for doing this. It was incredible, truly art. Sell this. This is an NFT. Just sell your art. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you really should.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No
And
worries.
for anybody watching, please follow JayJay Kings on Instagram. Have all the socials.
Yeah.
Get JayJay to 20K on Instagram, please.
Yeah. Oh my God, I would love
And beyond.
that. Yeah.
And then,
Awesome.
and then follow us on all our socials. Y'all know the drill. And yeah,
That's it.
thank
from us.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Check out my Instagram. I will put the final look up there so we can see with the highlight, with this eye done, and maybe a wig. And I'll put that up there for you.
Of course, and we'll obviously repost so you guys can see it on our social media as well. But other than that, thank you so much for coming out today. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And we hope to see you again. It'd be great to do this again.
Yeah, amazing. And happy Pride. Pride Week.
Yes. Happy Pride, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you again, JayJay. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.